Hi yogis. This is the second video that we're calling How Do We Deepen the Practice? And deepening the practice, for me, means taking more of oneself consciously into the performance of yoga asana. And at first, it's a huge challenge to firm the thighs and lift the kneecaps. I can remember the first time that happened in my yoga experience, and I was thrilled. Look, it happened! Because at that point, I could send the message from the brain right the way down the nervous system to the thighs, and the kneecaps lifted. It was a breakthrough. Yoga's like that. From the conception or the language or the cue that you hear, send the message to that place in the body and invite the body to respond. This is what BKS Iyengar told us was intelligence of the body. It's the connection of mind to body, which is the essence of yoga or yoking, or the unification of our entire self. With that in mind, I'm going to turn my back to you with the fingers interlaced like this and place the forearm and wrist against the wall. Have a look. The elbows are a little lower than shoulder height. The elbows are in line with the shoulder joint rather than splaying to the side. The toes of the right foot get a stretch up the wall and the left leg steps back. Now, all of this is probably not new to you. But here's the thing. To refine the pose and take more of your conscious body into the pose, take this outer thigh back away from the wall. And as this outer thigh moves back from the wall, stay soft behind the knee, and then bring the outer left hip towards the wall. That's the pelvic adjustment. Further, go to the deep abdomen, just above the pubic bone, and spread it wide, and then move it into the body. Did you see how the pelvis adjusted when you did that? Did you feel that in your own body? Let's look at that again. Here, drop the abdomen towards the floor. Just let it loose, let it drop. This action compresses this area of your back. However, feeling into this area, top of the pelvis, lumbar spine, feeling into that area, broaden the abdominals, and then bring the abdominals into the body. And you get that length and release. Now from here, with the top of the buttocks stretching away from you, lengthen the tailbone and draw it forward toward the wall. That's the first side. To come out, just step like this, left foot forward, right foot back. But change the interlace of the fingers such that the other index finger comes on top. And then forearms to the wall, elbows contained, toes of the left foot stretching, right leg reaching back, and I'm turning this back heel, this back foot. I'm turning it so it faces forward and then stretching into the heel. The shoulder blades are widening, the upper arms are turning out, the forearms are lengthening from elbow to wrist. The outer right hip, right here, is lifting toward the low ribs, up here, and then forward toward the wall. On the other side of the pelvis, the left hip is moving back. The tailbone is drawing forward, the abdominals are into the body. All of those actions we have to learn in order to bring the full self into the posture. And if that's not enough, if you want one more thing to focus on, think about the tailbone. Here, the left side of the tailbone is drawn away from the right side. But if we take the left side of the tailbone toward the right side in this direction with left foot forward and ease the outer left hip back further and further from the wall, we get more of the pelvic balance. To come out, look forward, step back, front foot back, and come up. Now we're going to take all of those actions into a very similar pose, but I need my bricks or something. If you don't have bricks, probably a chair seat will do, or if you have the foam, compact styrofoam bricks, they'll do as well. Here we're starting with the palms on the bricks and the right foot stepped between the bricks and the left foot stepped back. So you can see already the similarities in the leg and pelvis position to the previous posture. This is Parsvottanasana. Let's consider the foot to begin with. I've got the toes lifted, I've got the big toe mound pressing down, and I'm stretching right the way across now from this metatarsal right the way across to the little toe. And inner arch, outer arch are stretching back. The back of this front knee is soft. I'm not forcing the shin back. Then to the pelvis. Here, the outer right hip, right here, is moving straight back to the wall. Back and back and back, back it goes. So we have a line of the outer leg. This is what the hip wants to do. It wants to draw out to the side because the gluteus muscles are stiff, or maybe the hip socket is a bit stiff. But our action has to be this, more and more and more, outer hip back. And now, if we feel into the low back, right here, at the lumbar spine, if we feel there, and we just let the abdomen sag toward the floor. Here, there's compression. But if we broaden the abdominals and guide them toward the back body, we get freedom there. We're looking forward. And then, if the body permits, we could take the hands to a lower level like this. And we could stretch the hands forward and increase the length of the side body. And then it could happen that the hands might come to the floor, or the palms might come to the floor. And then the trunk lengthens over the front leg, the forehead descends. In this posture, Parsvottanasana, to come out, we step off the back leg, bring the hands to the hips, and come up. Now we're going to change sides. So we start with the bricks on their tall side. The left foot is stepped forward. The right leg is reaching back. Both legs are strong and straight. The back heel is lifted, and that leg is pointing forward. So then I have to move into the back heel. Where does that action come from? To get that back heel down to the floor. It comes from the groins. This area, the crease at the top of the legs, has to move up and back to get that back heel down. Then we consider the foot. Big toe mound pressing down. This is our balance point, just behind the big toe mound. If we can stretch that big toe mound forward and get this little crescent at the back of the big toe mound, if we can get this little crescent of skin to reach for the floor, then the whole inner foot is planted and stable. We're soft behind the knee. And then the outer hip. This is a crucial action for us. This outer hip has to move back to this back heel. Keeping all of that, stretch the chest forward, draw the abdominals in, press the hands into the bricks, and then consider, can you move the bricks forward? Maybe they're at this height. It's good for the shoulders, if shoulders are tender, to keep the bricks tall. Or you might say, oh, I'm on my way now to moving the bricks on their edge or on their flat side. Each one is a step into a little more depth in the posture. maybe the finger points, maybe the palms. Then the chest moves forward. Iyengar, Mr. Iyengar shows in Light on Yoga, he takes the chin to the shin. But we're thinking, try this. Take the breastbone straight forward rather than veering over the straight leg. Take the breastbone straight forward and then see, can the head release? In time and with practice, you might find that you're turning the chest over the straight leg. That's another development. To come up, bring your grips on your tall side, bend the knee, give a little push off that back leg, push and step, and come up. Now the arms, shoulders, upper arms. Actions of the upper arms and shoulders we can explore from this position. The classic down dog position of the hands has the index fingers parallel to each other and the wrists straight across, as if they could be parallel, let's say, with the edge of the mat. And then in down dog, we move the knees back away from the wrists and stretch the heels, the buttocks to the heels. That's a starting point, you see. From there, toes curl. Knees rise just, I don't know, maybe 6 inches. See how the knees are deeply bent? Here the arms are pushing, 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 pushing. Belly between the thighs. And then the legs unfurl to take the heels down. Take the heels out and down. So when you look back, they're invisible. Now watch the arms. See how the upper arms have to turn outward, forearms inward. Let's consider the hands in a different position. Really, although we're talking about the hands, in essence, it's the arm bone that's turning in the shoulder joint in a variety of ways. What if we take the hands this way? And we look to see if the inner wrist can align with the inner elbow and the inner shoulder joint. And then stretch the fingers and thumbs wide away from each other. And then bend the elbows a little. Now, why would I bend the elbows? Because if I don't, I'm pushing the outer elbow joint in and I'm hyperextending this joint. It's not a healthy action. We need to build strength around the joint to hold the bones in place. What I'm speaking of is these two forearm bones have to be aligned with the humerus. And if I push in here, you can see they're not. These bones are going in this direction, the humerus is going in that direction. So the joint is weakened if I practice incorrectly. So I have to micro bend the elbows. It feels like a bend. But really what's happening is strength is coming around the circumference of the elbow joint. And then I see, what is it like in down dog? Well, as soon as I move back, the index finger wants to lift. The thumb arm wants to lift. Say, no, stay. Stay, and then let me experience down dog with the hands in this position. What does it do for your shoulders? You're having to take the upper arms out tremendously and roll the forearms inward tremendously to hold this pose. In other words, you're amplifying that action and this action, which gives you a better downward dog. What happens if you turn the hands back like this and maybe reach across with the opposite hand and stretch fingers wide and thumbs wide away from each other? And then just experience this. We have to lift from the base of the hand up through the inner arm to stretch and firm the wrist. We might not want to lift and bring weight to this. It's totally okay if you'd rather not. But if you're curious and want to see what would that feel like, then just taste. Step the knees up and taste the weight on the wrists, on the hands in this position. And then lift the hands. Take the back of the hands together. See how the fingers interlace and the elbows bend? Just shake it out. And that stretch dissolves. It just lets go of the stretch of the wrist. So we've turned the arm bones this way, and this way. The full range of motion of the arm bones in the shoulder joint. Which one comes easily for you? And which one is more challenging? That's the one to step into, to explore and experience so that you understand the restriction that might be there and free yourself for that full rotation of the arms. Let's see what's coming next. From here, we're going to take our foam blocks. If you don't have foam blocks, it's okay. Get a bolster. If you don't have a bolster or foam blocks, it's okay. Roll up a blanket tightly, or a sleeping bag, or a blanket and a sleeping bag, so that you've got firmness right here. Then you're going to take the pubic bone below your navel, just on the front edge, like this, and bring those hands that you worked with at the wall at the beginning of class, such that elbows are directly under shoulders and wrists are pressing the floor. I'm looking down so the back of the head is in line with the spine. My toes are curled as if for down dog. And my job here is to press into the forearms and just lift the waist off the floor. To get that, I'm bringing the pubic bone to the navel and the navel to the pubic bone. I don't want to pike the hips up, nor do I want to lift the shoulders up. I want the whole back body to be a plank. And then hold. Because in the holding, we're building strength. I tell the story in class of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. My goodness, I think she's 89. That's her practice. She does plank asana. And she does it, and then she changes the interlace of the fingers, and she goes right back, like this. You want to get the whole forearm on the floor. And interlace the fingers, and tuck that little finger under, and get the wrist to the floor. If your watch band gets in the way, or a bracelet, or a ring, take it off. Interlace. Change the interlace. Bring the elbows under the shoulders. There they are. Bring the pubic bone onto the foam block. Now, our challenge here is lift the navel. But we start with the feet. And as we press the heels back, see how the thighs spring up away from the floor? As we press the forearms down, they support the trunk. Now it's the mid-body. Lift your navel. Pause. Breathe. Maybe you got your timer going. To deepen this posture requires holding. Maybe you've got your timer going, or maybe you're counting breaths. Whichever it is. When you come out, celebrate. It's hard to do Chaturanga Dandasana. We've shown it in a couple of videos, one specifically about how to do Chaturanga Dandasana. And here's the thing. In Chaturanga Dandasana, pubic bone, navel, pubis to navel. Bottom of the breastbone, navel. Bottom of the breastbone to navel. There's a knitting together of the abdominals in order to support the body. Stories abound of people who have hurt their shoulders in Chaturanga Dandasana. It's really not about the shoulders. It's about this midsection. Can you deepen your practice to bring the midsection into your practice and to strengthen there? Next week, we'll continue to look at deepening your practice with additional understanding of what's going on in the body and the mind. And by the way, when you're listening to that interior conversation about how you're doing, are you cheering yourself on? Yay, I did it.
Or is there another voice in there that's creating a judgment and a sense that, not good enough? That voice, that judging voice, that's not the voice of yoga. The voice of yoga is saying, we're all on this pathway, and each of us is doing the best we can with what we've got. So here we go, yogis. Next week it is. If now this little practice gives you incentive to stay on the mat and to explore some of the other poses, please do. Because we're just intending that the videos would prime the pump and that you would take whatever you can from them and add your practice. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to Dory Miller, who's doing the filming for all of these videos. Namaste.